on the normal linear regression algorithm and the data set. And you need to practice that cross validation, all that stuff also. The grid set CV, and then custom transformers. All that you need to practice. If you write one code example, right, you will get clarity. Okay. So let us look into this gradient descent. We looked into notation first, right? Each row we will consider as row vector. When I say row vector, each row is considered as column. Okay. And then the actual x becomes like n plus 1 by m. Actually, it was m by n plus 1, but because of each row considered as a vector, it became as n plus 1 by m. Now, because of this consideration, theta transpose x gives you the predicted value. So I have taken one row. Sorry. So I have taken one row as an example, and if I already know thetas, then the theta transpose x will give that particular row's predicted value. Linear combination is nothing but the predicted value. Linear regression. If you know thetas, if you know x's, substitute into the linear equation, that gives you the prediction. So theta transpose x can be applied onto the total data also like this. If your theta is like this, theta vector, and you transpose it, and your x, right, you considered each row as a column vector, then you do theta transpose x, you will get m number of values. For each row, a predicted value. This is called as vectorized implementation. Okay, this is called as vectorized implementation. This is how the total data manipulation or the predictions happen throughout AI. Throughout AI, the matrix manipulation is what is the what is happening. Even in deep learning, this is how it gets calculated. So theta transpose x is also called as logit. Okay, logits we call it as. So all the rows linear combinations are called as logits, especially when you look into the logistic regression and deep learning, we call them as logits. In linear regression, they are the predicted values. Okay. So for any questions or concerns, I am actually talking the terminology. Any questions, concerns? You understood theta transpose x notation, right? Or why we are doing this?
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you. So this is going to be there throughout your AI career. Theta transpose x is going to be there throughout your AI career. To simplify the calculation or get the calculation done faster, we are using linear algebra. Now, coming to gradient descent. Original, if you have one x, one input variable, then the hypothesis function is going to be theta 0 plus theta 1x. Two the constants are going to be there, or coefficients are going to be there, and the cost function we have taken as squared mean squared error by 2. I'll explain. The goal of the algorithm or the solver is to minimize this cost. It need to choose the thetas in such a way that this total cost minimizes. Here, the xi, can we choose xi? Can we choose xi in the sense, are they random? Xi and yi are they given?
It's a given.
They are given in the data set, right? Y is
Yes.
also y is given, x is given,
Yes.
right? Only thing you can choose is thetas. Right? You choose thetas in such a way that this cost reduces. When the cost is reduced, the gap between h of x and yi is less. When cost reduces, the gap between these two, distance between those two is less. That is what we expect. Right? The algorithm, the solver is also trying to do that. So to simplify this and explain and understand well, I took out theta 0 because if you have theta 0 also, when I did this graph, I will get another axis theta 0 here, and then this is going to become a bowl, and it becomes complex to explain. So I assumed only theta 1x, right? And then the cost function became like this. And for derivative, and that I have shown you on the derivative and all that, right? To show that also it's going to be easy. Now, the how the gradient descent algorithm finds next theta is next theta is equal to current theta minus alpha into derivative of the cost function with respect to theta, which is nothing but cost function slope at theta. Okay, cost function slope at theta. This is the cost function. Okay. If you put different thetas, if you put different random thetas into this hypothesis function and calculate costs, all those costs will come like this. All these dots will come like this. Okay. Then it will form a parabolic curve because this is y is equal to x square kind of an equation, right? So it's going to second degree polynomial. So it's going to form a parabolic curve. So at any given theta, you need to take the slope. You need to take the slope of the cost function. That's where we took on y-axis the cost function, x-axis theta. Basically, we cannot tweak x, we cannot tweak y. We can tweak only theta, and we need to observe cost. Right? In a very layman's terminology, if I have to say, right? If I tweak theta, cost is changing. I am tweaking theta in such a way, or I am drawing the line in such a way that the cost is reducing step by step. Okay. With each iteration, the cost is reducing. That's how I am actually planning the planning to find the best thetas. Okay. So this is like current theta is next theta is equal to current theta minus alpha. And so we are learning based on current theta, we are finding the next theta. Based on current theta and the slope of the tangent at the cost function, we are learning the next one. Basically, when we try to find out the slope of the tangent, it actually turned out to be the derivative of the cost function with respect to theta. Derivative of the any function with respect to whatever is actually this. Now, limit h tends to 0, f of x plus h minus f of x by h is nothing but the derivative of the function f with respect to x. The same thing happened here. That's where we took current theta minus alpha into derivative of cost function with respect to theta. Okay, you got it, right? You guys got that also. So I started with 100 and then try to show that theta current theta minus alpha into derivative of the cost slope of the cost function at 100, slope of the cost function at 70, slope of the cost function at whatever, right? Like that I reduced and reached to global minimum. Without this formula, right, theta is equal to next theta is equal to current theta minus derivative of alpha into derivative of the cost function with respect to theta, we would have drawn many lines, but we don't know which one is the minimum. We may calculate cost, but is that the best minima? We don't know, right? So to have a systematic approach, to actually follow a systematic approach and reach the global minima like this, okay, Systematically we are moving. Now the line can move other way, or maybe like that, or any direction it can move, any angle it can move, but it is moving only in a proper way towards the global minimal place because of the gradient descent algorithm. Okay. So now, what is this alpha? We need to understand, right? Now the theta is equal to theta minus alpha into derivative of the cost function with respect to theta. This alpha, right? Why did we took that alpha? If you take the alpha too big, it may diverge, right? If you see here, if I take this alpha 1, what happens? If I take this alpha 1, instead of taking 0.00005, if I take 1, what happens to next theta? Negative number and a big number, right? At 1,90,000 it is 1,90,000 number it will. So the steep, the curve is going to be more steeper, and the value is going to be next theta value is going to be away from the best theta. Where is best theta? Where is best theta?
Near to 0.
Near to 0, right? Here the best theta is there. How did you say that is best theta?
Minimum error.
Minimum error, right? Minimum error. The cost is the main focus of algorithms. Many algorithms, right? 99% of the ML algorithms and deep learning algorithms depend on cost function. They look into cost function while playing with the other parameters, parameters and hyperparameters. Okay, so it will diverge. We call that as divergence. Once it diverges, right, it actually tends to diverge even more, like convergence and divergence. So if you take a number which is close to 1, there is a chance that the algorithm may diverge. Okay, so you started somewhere here, you calculate next theta, it went there, and the slope is even higher, right? When you try to reduce the slope, again it will come here, again it will go there. Like that, it will actually diverge, right? You understood divergence? And the alpha, the learning rate, we call that as learning rate, is going to be constant throughout all the iterations. Throughout all the iterations. If you look at this, I am doing many iterations: second iteration, third iteration, fourth iteration, fifth, sixth, seventh. Throughout all the iterations, this alpha is constant, right? If I take 1 here, it would not have moved this direction. It would have went off, right? I would have to do a 4-dimensional, I would have to show 4 spaces, right? X, Y, minus x minus y also, and it would have been jumping around. This line would have been jumping around, right? So here, because of alpha, it is actually converging. We call it as convergence. It actually slowly moved, and moved. This theta moved towards the global minima instead of going off the track. Okay, going off the track is called as divergence. Slowly moving towards the global minima is called as convergence. Okay, and I have one more question. If I had taken the alpha maybe 0.000, maybe 2 more zeros and 5, what would have happened? What would have happened if I took the alpha a small number, the learning rate even smaller than this number? What would have happened?
It would need more iterations.
More iterations.
It needs more iterations, right? See this here, step size we call it as. The alpha or the learning rate is called as step size. If your step size is big, it may diverge, right? It is actually jumping like that. A person, right? He put his second foot there, second foot there, second foot there, like that, So if your step size is small, you will actually move towards the global. If it is even smaller, right? You will move, but it will be slow, right? By the time it finishes 70 iterations, it will have reached here only. Then also you will have higher error. How to find whether the algorithm is diverging or converging? Error will be reducing slowly, right? That is convergence. Error will be reducing. With each iteration, error will be reducing or accuracy will be increasing. That is convergence. Error will be increasing or accuracy will be reducing. That is divergence. This is a hyperparameter, we call it as. Learning rate is called as hyperparameter, and we need to choose this. And we need to choose this and play with it a little bit. This is where grid set CV is very useful. The concept I am talking here is going to be there throughout your AI career. In deep learning, this is what we do. What gradient descent, if you understand, deep learning is simple, very simple. Okay. So if you don't understand gradient descent, right, deep learning is very complex. You don't know what's happening. Many people call it as black box. Okay. But we'll see. It's not that black as people say. Okay. So here, you need to choose this very efficiently. This is called as hyperparameter. Okay. One hyperparameter we have seen so far. Thetas are called as parameters, and these kinds of values which actually make the algorithm work better are called as hyperparameters. Okay. So convergence will be slow if you choose the alpha a small number. It is big, it is going to diverge. That is convergence and divergence, and we need to play with the alpha and make the algorithm the best. Okay. The next point is, when you are playing with gradient descent, right? Sorry, when you are actually using gradient descent solver, the theta may have chosen on this side or this side. We don't know. Do you agree with my statement? Suppose that your best theta is here, and you are starting with a random theta. And when I say random, it may be chosen on the left side, right side or left side of the best theta. Do you agree? Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm saying a statement, right? Even if the theta is on the left side or right side, the same formula works to find out the best theta. What is the formula to find best theta? What is the gradient descent solver's formula?
Theta minus alpha into
Theta is equal to theta minus alpha into derivative of cost function with respect to theta. Right? That formula will work even when your random theta, chosen random theta, is on the left side or the right side. Okay, that's the statement I'm making. So I'm trying to prove that. So if you look at this formula, right, theta j minus alpha into j of theta, I think derivative of j of theta, I should have taken something else, theta I or something. Okay, so I think next theta I chose as theta j, right? So here, if you look at this derivative, this is actually calculating the slope, right? On the right side, I would say the slope is positive. Do you agree? On the right side, the slope is positive. You agree, right? Yes, no? What is the slope formula? This is the slope formula, right? J of theta plus h minus j of theta by h, right? J of theta plus h on the right side is higher, a big number. On the y scale, if you see, j of theta plus h is a big number compared to j of theta, right? Is this correct?
yes, sir.
Right? Then what happens? This is positive number, right?
Yes.
And the total slope is going to be positive. When you calculate derivative or when you use the limit h tends to 0 formula, it is same, right? Whatever, right, is same. So it is positive. So when the number is positive, you need to reduce, right? Because you are on the right side and you need to reduce and come to this place. On the left side, the j of theta plus h is going to be lesser than j of theta. Okay, theta is somewhere here, theta plus h is somewhere here, j of theta is going to be somewhere there, and j of theta plus is going to be low. J of theta is here, j of theta plus h is here, right? In that case, what happens? It is going to be negative. This slope is going to be negative. Then what happens? Theta minus alpha into derivative of the cost function is going to be negative. Theta minus of minus is plus. It's going to add. Either way, it's going to reach towards the global minimum. Whether the algorithm chooses a theta on the left side or the right side, it is going to reach to the global minimum. Do you agree? On this side, let me try to draw this and explain it. This concept is very important. I think some people are not missing the class. Maybe my health was the problem, right? Not having continuity. So if your theta was chosen somewhere here, right, and you are trying to calculate next theta, theta is equal to theta minus alpha into derivative of the cost function with respect to the right? So here, this part is going to be positive. This part is going to be positive because theta is here and j of theta is here. Right? Theta plus h is here. Theta plus h, this is right, a little number, a small number, no? And j of theta plus h is somewhere here. Clearly, we can see that the theta j of theta plus h is greater than j of theta, right? So this is going to be positive, and then it is going to subtract, and it next theta is going to move towards the global minimum. Okay, on the left side, if the algorithm chose the theta on the left side, right, theta on the left side somewhere here, random theta. Right, random theta, when you say you don't know whether it is chosen on the right side or left side, right? J of theta is here. Right? Theta plus h is somewhere here, right? Theta plus h, right? So j of theta plus h is somewhere here. Is j of theta plus h less than j of theta? What is the slope then? Right? Slope is going to be this by this, right? So it's going to be j of theta plus h minus j of theta by h. That is the slope, right? But this number is smaller than this number, so it's going to be negative. Sorry, it's going to be negative. So when it is negative, right? What happens if to the formula? Theta is theta minus alpha into a negative number, right? It's going to be theta plus alpha into negative, into the number, that slope. So that's how it is actually. And then it is going to move towards the global minimum like that. Either way, it is going to move towards the global minimum. The gradient descent formula works whether the random theta is chosen on the left side or right side. Got it? Got it? In interviews, people may ask, right? Now, if the random theta is chosen on the left side, what happens? Or the random theta, uh, uh, whatever, right? So, did you get this thing concept? Any questions there? Okay, good.
One question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, when we choose this random theta value, how this formula selects the theta value, whether it is a high value or it can take very less value also, right, which is close to zero, so that number of iterations can be decreased to
Ah,
find out the minimal. So
yes,
how does that formula select the theta value, higher value or lower value, to reduce the number of iterations?
it is random, right? It is random. Random means it will choose. There is no calculation, especially when you are using stochastic gradient descent. There is no calculation. But in deep learning, there are techniques. There are techniques to choose, a theta that's going to reduce iterations. That's a good question. In stochastic gradient descent algorithm, whatever we are going to use in maybe 10-15 minutes, right? There is no choice like that. It will choose randomly, but in maybe 10-15 iterations, right, it will come down to the place where the number of iterations will reduce. Algorithm will work in a way that it comes down very quick. When the steep, I'll explain that. When the slope is too high, see this, the jump size for the same alpha, right? The jump size is too high. Okay, but the
Yeah.
slope is reducing, the jump size is reducing, right?
Yes,
Your question got answered, right?
yes, yeah.
Right. So even if it chooses a big number somewhere, the jump is going to be high because the slope is high. Even though you multiply with the small number, the slope is high, the jump is going to be high. Okay. But in deep learning, right, we'll choose there is a concept called as exploding and vanishing gradients. Sometimes what happens is, because of the weights not choosing properly, the random weights not chosen properly, the algorithm may not converge, and the the coefficients may go too big or too small, and the equation may vanish completely, right? So there are reasons there. I'll explain. So to avoid that, right, we'll try to choose a random normal distribution between the 0.99 and minus 0.99, something like that. I'll talk about that later. Okay. Your question got answered,
Okay.
right? Okay.
Yes.
So the convergence, the converge faster. All features must be in similar scale. So in normal equation based approach, right, this constraint is not there. In gradient descent algorithm, all features must be on similar scale. What is scale? Do you remember what is scale? Right, this is the example, right? X1, a feature experience ranges between 0.2 and 20, and the lines of code ranges between 0 and 12,600 and 59. Right? These are not on similar scale. When I say same, this should also be between 0.2 and 20. The minimum is 0.2 and maximum is 20. Then they are same scale, right? The range is same. The minimum number, maximum number same. And then you try to do it, it's going to be clearly visible, right? I actually told you before also, I think. Right? So if you have to bring these two into similar scale, right? There are three approaches. One, divide by max. Take the maximum number, divide the values, okay, divide all the values in this column. The values will come between 0 and 1. Right? 20 by 20 is going to be 1. 0.2 by 20 is going to be almost close to 0. Right? All values will come between 0 and 1. The same way, if you take lines of code column and take the maximum and divide all the values with the maximum number, all the values will come between 0 and 1. Right? X1 is equal to x1 by maximum x1, x2 is equal. This is a matrix operation. In NumPy, if you do this, right, in a single shot, the whole data gets manipulated. Okay. So this is also vectorized implementation. Whatever I am showing here is also a vectorized implementation, x1 and x2. Right. So this brings data between 0 and 1. This is one way of feature scaling, we call it as. Okay. For gradient descent algorithm to converge faster, your data must be scaled properly. Why? Because if you look at this graph, this looks steep. Right? This curve looks steep. This curve looks steep. Okay. If your data is on different scale, right, then this curve will become a slant like that. Let me take a screenshot and explain. Mm. What? Give me 1 second. I closed it. If your features are on similar scale, then your curve is going to be like this. If your features are not on similar scale, right, then your curve, this cost function curve will come like that. Still going to be parabola, but almost like a line kind of parabola. Right now, if you are trying to apply gradient descent algorithm, right, what happens? If the curve is like this, if your parabolic curve is like this, or the cost function curve is like that, what happens? What happens to gradient descent algorithm? Any guess? Let me ask you one more question. What is happening here? Once after reaching this place, theta reached this place, what is happening there? What's happening here?
Step size is becoming smaller.
Becoming smaller. Why?
Slope is reducing.
Slope
Slope is reducing, right? Slope is reducing, right? So if you look at this graph, if you get a graph like this, right, what happens to slope? You get a graph like that. I'm unable to draw properly. If you get a graph like that, right, what happens to slope? Plot the graph. What is happening to the slope?
The top
It is
parabola
small,
slope,
right?
the top
Slope is very.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Top parabola slope initially is very high and slowly it starts reducing and almost becomes 0.
Yeah, but here, right, from beginning itself, slope is low.
Yeah.
Right? On this curve, right, whatever you said is true. But on this curve, from beginning itself, the slope is low. The convergence is going to be very slow. Your slope is low. Your coefficient is the learning rate is low. It's going to slowly converge, and somewhere here it will stop. And it may not actually reach the global minimum. It may actually be somewhere here, right? Because of slope is almost 0, 0 into 0, it's kind of theta may not reach global minima and stay somewhere there. And algorithm may not perform well. When theta is not appropriate, when I say theta is not appropriate, cost is not minimal. Right? Cost is not minimal. Cost is not minimal means the algorithm is not working well. Right? Cost is not minimal. Minimal means the predictions made are not accurate. Right? So that's the problem it's going to get into. When the data is not on similar scale, algorithm will not converge properly because of the cost function slope very okay. It's going to be like this. The data is not on the similar scale, the curve is going to okay. I actually took a 3-dimensional curve in a 2-dimensional space. This is called as contour plot. I'll explain that in a moment. What is contour plot in a moment. Okay, so you need to convert data like this. I showed a divide by maximum scaling scaling, but there are two more scalings. Standard scaling, which is nothing but z-scores. You calculate z-scores of all the values. That's one kind of scaling. Min-max scaling, subtract minimum of the column and divide by maximum minus minimum. Okay, and x1 and x2, subtract minimum and divide by maximum minus minimum. Okay, got it? Any questions? Feature scaling is very important in gradient descent. Okay, any questions there? Okay, good. So this is called contour plot. What is contour plot? Okay, so suppose that this is if you see here, let me try to take a screenshot. No need to understand this, but out of my curiosity I'm explaining. In some places, right, there will be mention of contour. So if you have, if you look at this, right, there is j of theta, there is theta 1, so theta 2 and theta 1. I am actually showing a two-dimensional plot, but this is a three-dimensional plot. Actually, it was a three-dimensional plot. The plot was like this. This is theta 1, this is theta 2, and this is theta. This is j of theta 1, theta 2. Okay. So if you have 3, right, then what happens? This curve becomes a bowl. Do you agree? This curve becomes a bowl. Do you agree with me with my statement? Right? This curve becomes a bowl.
Yes.
Right, like that. Right? So to represent this curve, this bowl, as a in two-dimensional plot, right? What I did is at a for some j of theta value, right? For some j of theta value, if you take all those blue dots, a blue circle, right? Blue dot circle. All the j of theta values are same. Do you agree? Those blue dots, right? All the j of theta values are same. Do you agree? Do you agree? No? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Anybody has got questions, concerns with that? My statement. Only 6 joined today. I don't know why. Right? You agree, right? Everybody agrees. What happens to theta 1 and theta 2 for the blue dots? Are they changing? For the blue dots, are they changing?
Yeah. Some
Right.
may come. Yeah, they may increase because it's all in the circle kind of thing.
So theta 1
section.
and theta 2 are changing. For different thetas, you will get same j of theta. For different thetas, you may get same cast. Right? That curve is, in a way, I am cutting this bowl here, 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 and here. When I cut it, right, I'll get circles. Right? It is like you have a watermelon, you cut it into half, and then you are slicing it. So these slices, right? Those slices are these. So on this line, right, cast is same. Cast is same, theta may be changing. You represented three-dimensional graph in 2 dimensions. That is called a contour plot. How to do a contour plot? How to understand a contour plot, right? Your three-dimensional plot is cut at different places, and those slices are represented as contour plot. Got it? Got it, right? This is a concept you need to understand, and there will be mention of this in many places. Okay. Only drawback with gradient descent is it uses whole data. I'll talk about this in a moment. To solve this problem, stochastic gradient descent and mini batch gradient descent are the algorithms, are the solvers we use. These two are the ones which make the AI work. Okay, artificial intelligence is based out of these two algorithms. Most of it, 90% of it, dependent on this. If you understood gradient descent, you are good to go. If you don't understand, right, ask me personally if you want, right? I'll explain. Okay, maybe not feeling well now, but no, maybe in 2 days, right, I'll recover. Whenever you have questions or whatever, right, you call me and I'll personally also explain. If you don't understand gradient descent, AI is going to be a bit difficult. Okay, so the only drawback with gradient descent is it uses whole data. So I'll explain what that means in a moment. So can I move on? Any questions?
Sir, one question, sir. So in the gradient descent algorithm, how did you calculate the step size? Theta we took random, and what about the step size?
Step size is random. We choose that and then play with it. I'll show you. Step size we randomly choose. A number maybe 0.01 or 0.001, and then play with the algorithm. See whether it is converging or diverging. How will you know whether it is converging or diverging? Convergence, the cost reduces, the error reduces. Divergence, the error increases. If error is increasing, that means step size is big. You need to reduce it. Right? The alpha value will reduce. The learning rate you reduce. Suppose that you choose 0.1. Okay. With each iteration, the error is increasing. That means it is diverging. It is diverging. So you need to reduce the step size. You make it 0.00000001. It actually starts reducing. Okay. Suppose that you took 0.001. It is taking too much time and still error is too high. It is reducing, but error is not too high. Then you may increase it a little bit. 0.01 you make. This is called hyperparameter tuning. We'll see that in a moment.
Yeah.
Is that your question? How to choose that, right?
Yeah.
I'll show that in a moment. Once theory is done, right, I'll show. Okay. So here, right, the gradient descent algorithm, I implemented this. No need to implement it. Okay, no need to implement it. But I'm just trying to show how exactly the gradient descent algorithm is working. So let me show you. I think I should have some code also here. GD implementation. Okay. So let us look at a code example. No. Code example. 17.1 should be there. Let's see. Okay. So here we are using SGD, so I need to explain this and then go. So here, right, gradient descent algorithm, right? Practical in code point perspective, how to do it. So I have chosen theta 100, right? Whatever I showed you in the diagram or this video, right? I start with 100, okay? And then I took the data from one of the linear data generated, right? I have only one X and one Y. Okay, I reshaped it to make them a two-dimensional matrix and one column matrix. And the number of iterations I chose was 70. Okay, here the algorithm is slowly converging, right? Slowly converging. So there are iterations. First iteration, it converged here. Second iteration, third iteration. Even though I'm showing on the graph, actually the theta is moving here, right? Slowly, 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 slowly. Like the theta is moving here. reaching a place where the slope is 0 and then it is going to stop there. Okay, so for that, these are called the iterations, right? Iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, like that. Okay, 70 iterations I have chosen. And then eta, in scikit-learn, this alpha, the learning rate is called as eta. Okay, the step size is called as eta. So I have chosen the same name. Eta is equal to 0.0002. How did I choose? I'll show in a moment. Okay, so m is the number of records in your data. Length of x is nothing but number of rows in your data set. Okay, now the iterations start, right? These iterations I am starting. So I am doing the first iteration. Okay, let me show you. So the iterations, for iterations in range of n iterations. What is n iterations? 70, right? So I have chosen 70 numbers here. Range of 70 is going to give 70 numbers, 0 to 69. So I took iteration number here. No need to take iteration number, but I took it just to show you the iteration count here. And y predict is equal to x dot theta I did. Did you guys understood this statement? Anybody understood the statement? X dot theta.
Some dot matrix operation.
What is X here? A NumPy array, right? Data of X dot values dot data of X is a series object. Right? Data is a data frame. You don't know that, right? So this is a series object. Dot values is going to be a NumPy array. Reshape is anyway going to be NumPy array. So when I did X dot theta, what is X here? It's a vector. Right? It's one column matrix, or a two-dimensional matrix. So I am doing, instead of doing theta transpose X, I am doing X theta. I'm doing X theta. Right? You know theta transpose X, right? What is theta transpose X? What is theta transpose X? When your theta is like this,
It gives you y.
Yeah, y cap, predicted
Y,
value.
Y cap, yeah.
Okay? And your X is like this. When you do theta transpose X, what happens? What is theta transpose? Right, x is not changing, right? So now theta transpose X, so it is a 1/3 matrix. This is a 3/1 matrix. When you multiply this, you will get theta 0 x0, theta 1 x1 plus theta 2 x2. This is nothing but y cap. This is nothing but prediction, right? Okay, right? Theta transpose X is prediction. This is theta transpose X. Okay, what is theta X? Suppose that, right, your theta is like this. What is the dimensionality of this? What is the dimensionality of this? 3/1, right?
Yeah.
Right? X. Your X is row only. Here what we did, we took row as a vector. That's where we are representing x0, x1, x2 like this. But if your row is like this, x0, x1, x2, what is this? This is actually a 1/3 matrix. If I have to multiply these two matrices, what I should do? If I have to multiply these two matrices, what I should do? X into theta will, right? 1/3 into 3/1 will give you 1, which is nothing but predicted. If I multiply that, right, I'll get theta x0 theta 0 plus x1 theta 1 plus x2 theta 2. Right? This is also linear combination. This is also linear, this is also prediction. Right? So that's what I did. In real time, when you are implementing, when you are actually doing vectorized implementation, whether you do x theta or theta transpose x, you get the same. One way, right? You need to convert your data, and then there is a reason for this. There is a reason for transposing your x and trying to do theta transpose x. When we do deep learning, right, we'll understand why actually, these guys actually struggled to convert it and all that. No, that's actually a gimmick also, right? In mathematics and science, people try to make things big. By doing that, they become big. Okay, so that concept is anyway there, but there is a reason. There is a small reason for converting your row into a column and then trying to make theta transpose x. You can do x theta. That also gives you prediction only. That's the prediction here. Why prediction? Is everything clear? Everybody clear? Any questions? Any questions?
X dot theta in brackets. What is that particular part is getting out of that, sir?
No, this x is an
Y
NumPy array, right? In NumPy array, we have a dot method.
Correct.
Which actually does the matrix multiplication.
Okay.
Okay, if you do x star theta, right? That's going to be element wise multiplication.
Okay.
If you do x star theta, it's going to be another vector with theta 0 x0, theta 1 x1, and theta 2 x2. Multiplication.
Okay.
You are going to get one vector. If you do theta star theta, x star theta, you are going to get one more vector. We need a scalar, right?
Okay.
A predicted value. To get that, you need to do dot product of two matrices.
Okay. Sure.
Right? Any other questions? So this is a question from NumPy. That's okay. Right? You should not have any, any confusions. That's the thing. You should not think that I did not practice. I don't know. He may. If by the end of the course, right, you should get full clarity. You should be able to build models. Any questions? Good. So, right, in the first iteration, what I did, I predicted values. I predicted when I do x dot theta, for all rows, I will get prediction. There are n number of, here in this particular data set, right, I have got only x1. There is no x0, there is no x2. Only x1 I have. Only one column I have. Right? There are 100 rows. Around 100 or maybe 200 rows. I don't know. Maybe 1000 rows. We don't know. For all 1000 rows, I'll get predictions here. Why predict is a matrix with or a column matrix with m number of predictions. Do you agree? Do you agree? Yes. Y predict is a vector with the m number of predictions. Here, right, what I showed you is for one row. Here for one row I showed you. If I have this x a matrix, right, m by 3, right, when I multiply m by 3 with 3 by 1, I'll get m by 1. M number of values I'll get. For m number of rows, m number of values I'll get. Got it? They are m predictions. What are those m values? Like this, linear equations. M linear equations I'll get. Those are all predictions of m rows. Do you agree? Understood? I think everybody is silent.
I think there is some delay, sir. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm experiencing or everybody is experiencing.
Maybe delay is there because I'm connecting through phone internet, right? So So now you see, right?
Yes.
Back and
Screen is also actually it is taking time. That's where it is taking time for us to correlate. That's where the gap is coming.
so I thought of coming, by yesterday evening to Hyderabad, but I was not feeling well last 3 days. I couldn't. So it may take 2 more days because I have some work here. So please bear with me for 2 more days, and things will be okay once I'm back in Hyderabad. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
So this point is clear. When you have m number of rows in the X, you multiply that with theta, the matrix, you get m predictions. I think the screen is clear. The screen is visible now.
Yes.
So let me go back and show you this code. Right, this code right here, I am calculating gradients. 2 by m star x dot, whatever I am doing here. See this here, x dot theta. Is that no? Can you see my screen, my cursor?
I think cursor is not.
Cursor is not visible, sir.
Cursor is moving. So issues with gradient descent. That's the screen I am showing.
We are seeing that screen.
Okay. So here, do you see red box there?
Yes.
Drawn around gradients. Yeah? Right. In that gradient box, right? In the 2 by m star, x transpose, x dot t is the x transpose. So this is the numpy array. Transpose, right? You need to do x transpose dot, right? It's a multiplication of x dot theta. This x dot theta is predictions. Do you agree? This x dot theta is predictions.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yes.
The predictions, m number of predictions are there. You are subtracting m number of y values. Okay? You are subtracting m number of y values. So you get a m number of a vector with m number of values here. To multiply those m number of values with your x, you are transposing your x and multiply. Why are you doing this? We need to understand. So before we understand problems with the gradient descent, right? We need to understand why are we doing this. So I said, you can see my, I am writing something. I am putting some tick here. Do you see?
Maybe both.
Do you see?
Staff తీసుకుంటావా ఇక్కడ
Tick we saw now.
Yeah. So there is almost 30 seconds delay.
Yeah, there is delay, sir.
So, right? Yeah. This formula I am explaining. We are calculating why did I use this formula? Okay. So if you look at the card, I said that 1 by 2m right into h of x minus y whole square. Right? Sigma I is equal to 1 to m. That whole thing is there. Okay. So let me forget about this part. Let me take only this part for 1 h of x minus y whole square. So now if I have to find out next theta minus alpha into derivative of the cost with respect to theta. Right? This is what I have to do. If I have to find the next theta, I need to do this part. I think you can see now. Theta is equal to theta minus alpha into derivative of the cost function with respect to theta. Now you see it, right? Right?
Yeah, it came now.
You see, it came now, right? So to calculate this, right, we need to calculate derivative of the, this is called as gradient. This is called as gradient. This part is called as gradient. This part is called as gradient. Okay. This part I am calculating. This part is a formula. I actually put it here. This part's formula I put it in the red box. The tick next to tick the red box, right? I kept this formula, the formula for this particular equation. So how this actually came? Let us look at it. Okay. So I said that y cap is equal to theta x. Y cap or the predicted y is equal to theta x in the gradient descent algorithm, right? So I am substituting theta x into h of x. Theta x minus y square. This is equal to theta square x square plus y square minus 2 theta x y. Right? This is my cost function. This underlined part is my cost function. Okay. Now you can see, right? This underlined part is my cost function. Right? Now you can see. You can see this, right?
Yes, yes.
So now I need to calculate the derivative part, right? Derivative of this cost function. So how to calculate derivative? If I do j theta by dou j theta by dou theta, it's going to be 2 theta x square plus minus 2xy. Do you agree? If I do derivative to this cost function, right? Derivative of theta square with respect to theta is 2 theta. Derivative of theta with respect to theta is 1, right? Here, right? Derivative of cost, the other variable other than theta is constant and 0. Okay, so here it is 0.
I find it.
Okay, so that's how it is. So it is going to be, if you take 2x common, theta x minus y. Do you see this formula? 2x into theta x minus y. This is the gradient. This is the cost function, right? Theta square x square plus y square minus 2 theta xy is the cost function. Okay. 2x into theta x minus y is the gradient. Okay, you see this formula, 2x theta x minus y.
Yeah, sir.
Now you can see, right? If you look at this formula and the red box, now you can correlate. Why am I using this? If you look at this theta x, sorry, 2x into theta x minus y. If you look at red box, now I am actually drawing here. So in the brackets, theta x is there. That is theta x. You can see blue circle around theta x, right?
Yes, now.
Right? So y, right? This is same as this theta x and this y. Okay, and into x, there is x here multiplying, right? There is x here multiplying. The same x I am multiplying here. I did transpose because to match the dimensionality. Right? M by n, n by p multiplied, you will get m by p. To match the dimensionality, I did transpose here. Okay, got it? Got it? No? Yes.
Yeah, but you divided with m. Why is that done? 2 by m.
2 by m, right? So
M.
here this 2 is there, right? The 2x into theta 2 is there, right?
Yeah.
The 2, you got it. Divided by m because we are doing sigma I is equal to 1 to m.
Okay.
Right? You know, actual formula is 1 by m into sigma I is equal to 1 to m h of x minus y. When you take cast, right, you take cast for all data, all records. You predict for all records, you take all y, you subtract square and take average of it, right? And in the derivative also you will have that constant 1 by m will be there, or 2 by m will be there.
Okay, sir.
Got it? It's a constant, right? You'll put that aside, right? It is like this. Here you will have 1 by m. You will have that bracket. I think now, right? It will take some time. 1 by m and brackets. And now you apply derivative here. You get 1 by m here also. It is going to be 2 by m. Got it? You see 2 by m now. 1 by m here, 1 by m here, and 2 by m here. You see?
Yes, sir.
Now you see, right?
Yes.
So now let me go back to our gradient descent one more time, because I told you that I am going to explain one point here. Can you see this linear regression gradient descent screen?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
It will come.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It has come.
Yeah, right. It came, right? So if you see the cast function yellow, right? 1 by 2m we took here to cancel the 2, right? Whatever 2 we are getting while calculating the gradient, to cancel the 2, this is actually the Andrew Ng's formula. He took 1 by 2 so that the 2 gets cancelled. Got it? Only 1 by m is going to be there, even in the gradient descent, gradient calculation also. Got it?
రామ అయిపోయిందనా
Keshwa, mute please.
సారీ
You got it, right? 1 by 2m, why we took 2 here? Guys.
Yes, sir.
So no, just mathematical manipulation. That's just to avoid this 2 here. That guy actually took 1 by 2m there. I think you can see my drawing now, right? Again, back to the issues with gradient descent. Now you see?
No.
Yeah. So we are calculating gradients. Why this formula I explained, okay? And then subtracting theta minus eta into the gradients. Theta is equal to theta next next to that red box I am actually showing. Theta is equal to theta minus eta into that is that calculated next theta. Down below, right? I am actually calculating the error and trying to see RMSE score and trying to see whether it is reducing or not. If you look at the right side, RMSE after epoch 10, RMSE after epoch 20, that part, right? So RMSE means root mean squared error. It was high, 7,860. It reduced. By 70 iterations, it came down to 333. It is not reducing anymore, or it is reducing a little, very minimal. So this is convergence. Because of your eta is sufficient or eta is good enough, it reduced and it reached to a place. If it was a big number, what would have happened? If the eta number is a big number, maybe if I chose 1 as eta, what would have happened to the iteration 10, epoch 10, epoch 20, epoch 30 and all that? What would have happened to RMSE? What might have happened? Not good. What might have happened? RMSE might have increased.
Increase.
Right? So it would have diverged. So we would have reduced this number and it would have came to the best place. That's how you play with it. When I show you the code example, right, you will understand better. Don't be, these are, you are all getting it right. Okay. So here, right on the red box, right, whatever the red box, this red box, I actually pointed out something. You know, the gradient descent can't work with huge volume of data as it uses whole data for each iteration. Will you see any sense in this statement, this red statement? No. Does it make any sense? The red statement? This red statement, does it make any sense?
It does make sense.
Yes, right. So first iteration, I took whole data, calculated next theta. Second iteration, I took whole data, calculated next theta. Third iteration, I took whole data and calculated gradients and subtracted it from theta, and like every iteration I am using. In normal equation, I said that I am going to use whole data in one shot. I said it's a problem, and I brought you to gradient descent. Now I am using whole data for each iteration, right? 70 times I am using it. The math maybe, the matrix manipulation may be less, but I am using 70 iterations. So gradient descent algorithm also uses whole data for each iteration, and it is going to use heavily. So this is not going to help in huge volumes of data. The solution is stochastic gradient descent. If you look at this code, I moved the slide, it may take a little while. You see stochastic gradient descent now, screen.
Yeah, we are able to see.
Right, in stochastic gradient descent, right, what it takes is, it takes one record at a time. See, if you look at this code, if you look at y predict, from y predict, you look at from y predict. Y predict is equal to x dot theta. Okay. And then this prediction is going to be for all records. But what we are doing is, we are choosing a random index. On the green box, if you see inside the green box, the first statement is, I am choosing random index from m numbers. What is m? Number of records in the data. And then choosing only one record. X of random index colon random index. What is this? Is this slicing? Random index colon random index plus 1 x of, is that slicing if it is a numpy array?
Yes, sir.
Right. So we sliced xi, we sliced yi, and then we used only xi and yi. Only one record we are using to calculate gradient. Okay. And then we found theta. Theta is equal to theta minus eta into gradient. So instead of using whole data, I'm using one record at a time and iterating through. This will also find the best theta. This solved the whole data usage. At the same time, it is actually using one record at a time, so you can billions of records. Got it? So tomorrow, right, we'll learn more about stochastic gradient descent. Okay, I'll start with the gradient descent, the whole data usage problem, and then I explain this. You got the point? Any questions here? Did you get the point?
Yeah, one question, sir. So because it is using only one record at a time, and if the data is too variant for that particular record, it may not get the probably close to accuracy very quickly.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
Problem is going to be there. Yeah, that your guess is very right. Your guess is very right. Okay, if the data is too much oscillating, right? Then oscillating in the sense, one record is in a different pattern and other record is in a different pattern. That means your data collection is not proper. Right? You may have to do more data collection, or the data we are trying to build model fur is not having any pattern. If the data is not having pattern, algorithm will not work. Anyway, human beings cannot actually predict, first thing, and machine will also not able to predict. It may predict a little better than human being because of its computational power, but it will not work. Okay. So the basic assumption is that the data is proper and the huge volumes of data is there. This problem we'll encounter with our salary prediction. The data set is small, and on the linear regression algorithm with normal equation based one, we got 98% accuracy, but with the stochastic gradient descent, we'll get 92 only. Because of whatever problem you said. Data set size is small and it has got different patterns, and as it is choosing one record at a time, it may not capture the pattern properly. Okay.
Sure.
So for deep learning algorithms, you need huge volumes of data. This is one of the reasons. Deep learning uses stochastic gradient descent algorithm, and because of that, it needs huge volumes of data. When you have huge volumes of data, we will actually take mini batch gradient descent, we call it as. Instead of taking one record at a time, we actually take a batch of records. From a random index to maybe 10 or 16 or maybe 32 records. We take and do the gradient calculation, subtract. That way, your problem will reduce. Giri actually raised a point, right? That problem will reduce because when you take more data, the generalization is going to be better. That is called as mini batch gradient descent. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Are we good? So tomorrow I'll delve deep into this stochastic gradient descent. Even for stochastic gradient descent, we have practically implemented example, right, to show you how the cost function actually behaves and all that. Yeah, it's going to be little math and a little kind of off track, I would say. But knowing this is really, really, really important. It makes our life very easy when we do deep learning. Okay. So that's it for today. Any questions you can ask? Okay.